Speaking of chapters, should we, if I can talk, should we open up the Untranslatable Encyclopedia and get this chapter on the books?
Yeah, what chapter is this? 337? Chapter 337?
I think so, right? Or are we at 338?
No, it's 7.
7? Right.
Yeah, jeez.
337. Some Dutch.
When will it end, Chad? When will it end?
When we get our Netflix deal and we have a certain number of episodes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So when we die. That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
All right, let's do it, dude.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here today to talk about parental and familial expectations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know Jared grew up with very demanding helicopter parents on both ends, made him work day in and day out on his studies and his tests so he could be the successful man that he is today. And my parents were just like, make sure you're rapid if you tap it. So we've got a lot of different perspectives to talk about today in terms of parental expectations, and this will be a fun one, that is for sure. I also have some stories as well from some former students of mine in China that I want to bring up today as well. So it should be a fun episode talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of parental and familial expectations. So let's get into it. And I could not do this episode without my esteemed co-host and my good buddy. What's going on, Jared?
Hi, Chad. I consider you my brother. And as my brother, I would say I have a lot of high expectations for you for this podcast. It better be good and funny and all sorts of... And I don't know. That's all I got.
Well, I'm here to disappoint, Jared. What can I say?
Perfect. Just like any quality functioning family.
That's true.
So, you're sort of the topic person here on the Untranslatable podcast. That somehow has turned into your role. I do everything else, and but you're very good at it. And sometimes though, when I hear a topic, I wonder, how does Chad think of this? How did Chad come up with this? And then this made me wonder. Are you okay? Are you in crisis? Do you feel some strong expectations? Maybe you just turned 30 and all of a sudden the expectations have changed in the household. And now you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. This is just on your mind, or you're just watching.
You know it. It's a 30-year life crisis. No. Actually, Jared, what it is, if I can get us started, I guess today we can do 2 Chad story times. I know your goal is to get the whole podcast to be Chad story times. But I do have a kind of an interesting, and I would love to get your thoughts on this as well, Jared. This is from...
Hold on.
Chad story time.
Here we go.
Good call. So this, I found this first at international@uiowa.edu, but, we like to go to the legit source, and this is actually an article that they had taken from the China Daily, which is a newspaper article coming out of China, but it's written in English. I think you can also read it in Chinese. But here it is, Jared. The title...
Or if you have Google Chrome, you can just hit translate in the top corner.
That's true. I'm using Internet Explorer, so... anyways.
That would not surprise me at all, by the way.
That's why I said that, as I read this on Google Chrome. But I digress. Here we go. The title of this article is West East by the ChinaDaily.com.cm. And here we go. Praise or criticism.
Here we go.
Oh, Chad story time. Thank you, sir. Here we go. Praise or criticism. Chad story time. Praise or criticism. American parents and teachers use more compliments and encouragement to help a child develop, Chen says, adding, it's the opposite of Chinese parents. Chen's elder son, Liu Changhao, studies at an elementary school in Iowa City. So he learns the American way at school, but returns to a Chinese home. Sometimes he's confused about the different ways, Chen says. When he expects to get praise, it's not always the case. And I can tell you firsthand, Jared, I had students who were like juniors in college. When I praised them, they told me I was the first person in their lives to give them praise, which blew my mind. These are like 21, 20-year-old students. Anyways,
of any kind, just period?
Well, I don't know of any kind, but like more positive encouragement. Well, that would be praise, right? Praise is positive encouragement.
Right.
So, yes.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Jesus.
Well,
wow.
let me continue this article, Jared, and maybe
I'm
we'll
sorry,
get.
I need to stop.
We'll get
Chad story time.
we'll get
I
to
need to
understand why. Okay. All right. Almer says her Chinese mother never says things like congratulations or I am proud of you, but her American father says things like good job, honey. Zhang Yuping from China and the mother of 17-year-old boy and 9-year-old daughter says that when she receives her children's course results, she tends to concentrate on their failings. At first, Jared, I thought this said feelings, but it says failings. When I point out what they didn't do well, my children always say, Mom, why don't you praise me for what I've done well? Zhang says. More authoritarian. Li Xiaomei's daughter, who was born in China and grew up in the U.S., was slapped in the face by her father when she refused to change her clothes. Li's husband thought her then 13-year-old daughter's clothes were too revealing for her age and asked her to change into the clothes they bought her in China. She said no and added that he had no right to slap her. Generally, and this is not my words, this is coming from China Daily, generally, Chinese parents are more authoritarian compared to American parents and expect their children to respect and obey, while American parents tend to see their children more as equals. I don't know if I fully agree with that statement there, Jared. The American families see their kids more as equals, at least not my house. Anyways.
Yeah, but Chad, how many times do I have to tell you this? When they say something like that, it doesn't specifically mean at Chad's house. This is how
True.
everything.
That's true.
When we
That's
say
true.
in America, we're talking about Chad's house. You know, statistics are.
Right.
You can't be like, I don't know about that. This is how my life is. That's not how statistics work. Chad.
You're right. This is one of the reasons why I call you the numbers guy. You used to always be like, why do you call me that? Yeah, you always bring up statistics, Jared, but it's good. Anyways.
You always be like, well, that's not how my life is. It's like, yeah, but they said in America.
Right. And that's also
You're
one person.
one person.
Yeah. No, you're right. Okay.
You don't do everything exactly how every American does.
That's true. Because I take my dirty shoes off when I get in the house, Jared.
Exactly. That's a perfect example.
Okay. For my mother, I think it's hard because she grew up in a...
Maybe you should move to China. It seems like so far, it seems like the parenting style is more what you're used to. Take your shoes off and shut up.
And these are your failings, and we need to concentrate on them. All right,
Yeah.
let me continue here. So for my mother, I think it's hard because she grew up in a completely different environment. I am not always obedient, Almer says. She says she's not frightened of speaking her mind, but her mom usually retorts, you shouldn't talk to your mom like that. I don't know if you got those lines, but I got those lines as a kid, Jared. So maybe you're right. Maybe after this article, maybe I do have more similarities with China than I initially
Also,
thought.
you're talking about when you grew up in the mid 90s and early 2000s, and
Right.
I assume this is more present day that you're reading.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
I would say also times have changed a little bit. It's
Right.
been
Yeah?
20 years.
Right. That is true. A lot can change in 20 years. Okay, Josie Liu, the Chinese mother of a 4-year-old daughter, says she has adjusted her parenting to fit in with the U.S. When I grew up, my parents were pretty authoritarian, Liu says, adding she has to be more polite with her daughter in the U.S. Instead of saying, hey, you have to do this, she asks, can you do this?
That's impressive that she recognizes that.
Right? Yeah, it
And
takes
like,
a lot of
and
self.
wants to make the change.
Yeah, it takes a lot of self-awareness, cultural awareness. We all are products
Parents
of the
aren't supposed
culture
to
we
admit that
raised
they're
in.
wrong.
Right,
Parents aren't supposed to admit that they have to change.
Exactly. All right, but here is the kind of the main point here, Jared, which is what kind of spurred this topic idea today. This next section of this article is titled Great Expectations. Here we go. Why don't you get
Here we go.
first? Was the response.
Chad story time.
I love that. Here we go. It triggers me.
All right, one more time. Here we go.
Chad story time.
Great Expectations. "Why don't you get first?" was the response Amr got when she called her mother, telling her that she got second place award for her photos from the Iowa Newspaper Foundation. This attitude underlines the fact that Chinese parents are good at raising stereotypically successful kids, as they are strict about their children's studies and have high expectations.
And now, see, Chad, I could disagree with you and say, well, we read an article where Chinese people were adopting a culture of laziness and not doing anything in rebellion. So I don't agree with that.
What was that called again? Isn't that movement called something?
Shoot, I don't remember.
I thought that movement was called something, but yeah.
It is.
Okay, anyways, let me continue here.
Laying flat.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah.
I believe that's what it was.
I think you're right. Much better than the Flat Earthers movement, in my opinion, but that's just me. There might be some overlap there, but who knows? Anyways, Liu Dongwang, the associate director of the Center for Asian and Pacific Studies, said he was not very successful raising his daughter, who will start her studies at the University of Iowa in the fall of 2011. So this article is a little bit old. It's from, it looks like 2010, at least. Okay, she can only attend the University of Iowa, Liu says. I hoped she would have been admitted to one of those elite schools. Listen to this, Jared. And I would sell my house to pay for it if necessary. Long
that
says
doesn't seem like a good investment.
Well,
I guess that's a great investment if you believe in your kid,
right?
You know, you're investing in your kid. So I had to take that back.
Right.
Maybe it wouldn't be a good investment for my parents to sell their house.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, Long says Chinese
but for
parents,
her, maybe.
right, only want their children to do well academically. Not only want their children to do well academically, they also want them to excel at other things. Like Amy Chua's children, they often expect them to take piano or violin lessons at a young age and practice for a long time. I believe they want their children to become really skilled, Long says. Maybe it's a part of the value system to do everything well. While Chinese parents expect their children to excel at what they do, American parents prefer their children to enjoy what they do. I would practice piano if I liked it, Almer says. But for her mother, practicing piano is not just a hobby, and she demands that it is taken seriously. Looking back, I should have listened to my mother, Almer continues. I wish I had listened to her and kept practicing and not let my father intervene. I would be much better now. And we'll end it there, Jared. We'll end it there. But that is what spurred my topic for today.
That's lovely. One thing that stuck out to me that takes a lot of bravery. This is a brave kid. Is the question, why don't you praise me? You know, that's a hard thing to ask your parents,
right?
Especially as a kid. But anyway, yeah, that's impressive. I'm impressed with this family. The fact that the mother was able to like recognize the cultural difference and how. And make that change and still be like, I can still be an effective parent in this cultural setting. You know, I just have to adjust or whatever. Dude, I believe I told you about this. When I was in Pennsylvania and I was doing the piano lessons, we would do recitals every year or so. And one of my piano teacher's other students, he was Chinese. And at the recital, he was like 13, 14, something like that. And he was by far the best one out of everyone there. Like, there wasn't even close. And people were like saying, "Oh, good job!" Like after the recital, and his mom was like right next to him, just being like, "Hey, it was okay. Well, he made a couple mistakes." Like,
oh man,
when just any other parent would be like, "Good job," she would like before he could even say thank you,
interject.
She'd be like, "Eh."
Be like,
yeah,
well, on bar 27, measure 3, you know, he.
But it was even one where it's like, well, he's had a lot of schoolwork recently, so he hasn't been able to practice as much. You know, she just had like so many excuses every time, and it made me so angry. I didn't say anything. My piano teacher said something eventually, but I didn't say anything obviously. But I was like, Jesus Christ, let the kid enjoy it for a hot second.
Right. Well, here, Jared, I have some. I know it's only one person, but I do have some anecdotal evidence from. I used to work at the recording studio at Albion back in college, which meant I was one of like 3 or 4 students who recorded all of the concerts. And because, believe it or not, Jared, I was one of the more dependable music majors at the time, I was tasked to record the early morning piano festival concerts, which started at like 8 or 9 a.m. and ended at like 5 or 6 p.m. And as much as I love music and as much as I love like classical piano music, dude, if to this day, if I have to listen to more of like an hour nonstop classical piano music, doesn't matter what I'm doing, I will start to fall asleep. But anyways, the whole reason why I tell the story,
any normal person would start to fall asleep,
right?
Chad. That's your.
Well, the reason why I say this though is that there were from the ages of 8 to 12, I would say like 90% of the participants were Asian, and dude, they all killed it. Like it was amazing how just good they were. But then I remember overhearing one of the piano judges. And he was like, these kids are technically flawless, but they're so young that they don't understand the musicality of it yet. Like when you just haven't lived life long enough, you don't know what, if you wrote a piece about losing a loved one and you've never had your heart broken or you've never had a family member die, you just can't express that musically yet, because you just don't have enough, you haven't worn off enough tire from your treads,
Yeah, my piano teacher would say that to me a lot back in the day, where it's like, technically that was right, but like it didn't but there was no like feel to it,
Yep.
And you can sort of there was no, and it's almost like when you're like writing a good poem or like story or something, like you need some sort of flow to it. You can't just tell the story. It's not just about telling the story; it's about how you tell the story as well. Right. And my piano teacher would constantly, ride that into me about the feel and
right.
That
feels
sounded weird, but
honestly, man, I would, if I had to like pick my musical skills, I would take feel over technical ability any day, because there are so many dudes out there, so many people out there who just shred on guitar, but a lot of them
self-taught people.
Well, those self-taughties. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm saying as far as like the feel versus the technical.
Yeah,
I feel
do
like
think
the
the
self-taught
self-taught's
people
more
tend
feel.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But so that was the motivation for this article. No life crises yet, Jared. So that's some good news.
Well,
but I did think it was. I don't know.
That you're going to talk about on this podcast. I wouldn't say there are no life crises.
That's fair. That is a good point. Very valid point, Jared. But yeah, and
it's like
Jared,
a ridiculous chat.
Right. I've decided let's save Chad's Storytime Part 2 for our next episode, because I can easily talk about this other thing next episode. Doesn't have to be today. But Jared, I think you might know what time it is by chance.
Untranslatables.
That's right.
Untranslatable.
Right on time. Right on cue. That Rolex ticks to perfection, Jared. Or are you
Still
more of a
not a
Tag
Rolex.
Heuer? Or more of a I'm trying to think of other expensive watch brands. I can't think of any.
Jaeger LeCoultre, Panerai.
There you go.
Patek Philippe. Just to name
Anyways,
some.
it's time for some untranslatables, which are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms
I
that
know
don't
a
always
bunch.
translate on a
Breitling.
one-to-one basis. Breitling's a good one. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Get us started today, Jared, with some untranslatables.
That's perfect, because I actually have 3 today, but this first one's a real quickie. I just heard, once again, this was an organic one, and just one of these things where it's like, it's so weird how English can vary from location to location. So this is a British term I heard the other day. I think it was on Twitter or something, and I was like, "What?" Like, because it's
Very
anyway,
disappointed
the
you didn't hear it on
phrase,
Formula One. Very disappointed.
I would love, once I say this term, I would love to figure out how this would be integrated into Formula One commentary. The term is squirty cream. Squirty cream. Squirty cream.
Squirty cream.
Yeah.
Squirty cream.
The Formula One car sustain high Gs, and their necks are real sore after a session, so they need some squirty cream that they rub on, and it's like an icy hot.
Okay.
No, that's not what it means. That's not what it is.
Okay.
I was just trying to work it into Formula One. That's not what it is.
You had me fooled, too.
I have no idea how I would work this into Formula One. I'm making some desserts for
is it frosting?
Whipped cream. Frosting and whipped cream
whipped
are kind of
cream.
different.
Right.
It's whipped cream. Like a
Right.
squirty cream. Squirty cream.
That is.
That
what
sounds like
context did you hear that in? That's so random.
It was just on Twitter. I think it was
Okay.
someone saying like, no. But now that I say it out loud, it kind of sounds like a porno search or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I want the squirty cream videos. And it's like, this is not what I was expecting.
If it's not a genre or a topic to search for, it will be after this episode, Jared. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh, this is not. I was just looking for some whipped cream. What is this?
Right.
Can't
all
just
those,
type that into Google in the
all
U.S.
those British people getting mad now because they can't type in squirty cream for their whipped cream.
You perverted Americans.
Right. We always ruin everything, Jared. All right. My first one, actually, all of mine for you today are Swedish. Probably shouldn't say it like that.
Okay.
I'm sure the Swedes don't talk like that. Anyways.
No, they do. They do. It's fine.
This is Taga ner, which means take your spikes down.
Is that like
Go ahead.
relax? Hey, calm down, dude. Hey.
Wow, very good.
I mean no harm.
I was hoping to do an
You don't
example
need to
with
be
squirty
aggressive.
cream, and you're just too good, Jared.
I didn't even need it. No, I know I'm a professional. So that was loud, but I deserve it. Yeah, no, take your spikes down. I think that's very something that not something that a normal people would say, but I feel like I could hear that in like a Shakespeare play
Right.
or something.
That's true.
My lady, take your swords down, or something like that.
Right.
You know,
We just
Old
be like,
Billy
chill
Shakespeare.
out, man.
yeah, dude. Yeah, we're cool, dude. We're cool.
Chillax, bro.
We're just vibing out here, bro. All chill vibes here, bro.
Exactly.
My next untranslatable is Swiss French. French, but spoken in Switzerland. I don't really know how to do a Swiss French accent, so I'm just gonna read it. Fondre comme neige au soleil.
Something about the
Do you know
sun.
any of those words? Yeah, soleil is sun, neige is snow, fondre is melt, and like is comme.
To
melt
melt-
like snow in the sun.
This one reminds me of an old English untranslatable that one of my older either cousins or great uncles used to say. It's probably wrong, Jared, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's hilarious. Sweating like a whore in church.
Oh, no, that's not
no?
what it is.
Okay.
But that's good. That's good.
That's cool. Yeah. To melt, what was it again? To melt like the sun in the snow?
Melt like snow in the sun. You don't melt
thank
like
you.
the
Yeah,
sun in
yeah.
the snow. What does that even mean?
Right. Right.
Melt like snow in the sun.
Is it just when something happens fast?
Yes, but something specific. It's we're talking about something specifically here. Here's an example of something melting like snow in the sun. A place where this might happen, and you'd be like, how did this happen? There's a term that I can't use that'll just give it away, but maybe on Amazon you might experience melting like snow in the sun.
And things sell like hotcakes?
This is more personal. Think about something personal. Your personal journey on Amazon. Not yours specifically, maybe, but one's personal journey. Not something selling like hotcakes, but it's like, oh, I got to pay rent. Oh shoot, maybe I should. Maybe yes, I used this juicer 3 times, but maybe I could box it back up because my. Melting like snow in the sun. I can't use the term. My money is melting like snow in the sun is the term that I was trying not to use.
Oh, it's burning a hole in your pocket?
Yeah, you're burning through your money.
Right. Yeah. My dad used to say that to me when I was a kid. You know, if I had any money, that money's
Melting like
burning a
snow
hole.
in the sun?
Well, burning a hole in your pocket.
I got you.
My dad's not Swedish. Or that was Swiss
This
French.
is Swiss French.
He's not Swiss French either.
Okay. Swiss German.
Right. Exactly. All
He
right.
knows no French.
My next one for you, un petit peu. I think he
okay.
knows a little bit. Anyways, my next one for you
I
is
don't know. I was just making shit up.
my next one's for you Swedish as well. And it is, I love this one, Jared. Du har satt din sista potatis. You catch
You
that
have
last word?
sat in something about potatoes. You have something in potatoes?
You
Potatoes? I
you
don't
have
know.
planted your last potato, Jared.
Okay. Oh, so I was right. It is potato.
Yeah.
You never gave me any sort of positive
No, you are right.
confirmation.
Yeah.
You just
Because
No,
I
yeah,
have
now
terrible
you did, but-
expectations as a parent, clearly, Jared.
But I was like potatoes, and you're just like, and I was like, is it potatoes?
It is potatoes,
Anyway,
yep.
so can you give it to me again? You have something
Yes.
potatoes in your pocket.
You have planted your last potato, Jared.
You've gone on my last nerve, Chad.
Very good.
Is that really it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
or like I've had enough of you.
Jesus.
I've had enough to
I
hear
think
with
that's
you.
fair.
Which is what you
I
said.
think that's fair.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Dude, I'm a professional at this.
You are.
I think at this point, when I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not even gonna say that. My next untranslatable is Cantonese, and it's Gamju Lu. By the way, I'm only on like episode 6 of Squid Game. I know that's Korean, but I'm going to bring it up. Like I'm going so slow.
Well, you're on episode 6.
I don't even know the number.
Well, if you're on 6,
the last episode, I saw the begin. I saw the tug of war.
Okay.
But just and it ended with the main team, with all their strategy and stuff.
Right.
That's where I'm at. I don't know.
That's
what
a
number it is,
crazy
5 or
episode,
6.
isn't it? If you're on
Yeah, that
episode
old
6,
guy's got
though,
some.
hang
That
tight.
old guy's dropping some knowledge,
Right?
I'm sure you could. Yeah, Chad, you could say that about every episode.
That's true. That's true.
If I said I was on episode 7, you'd be like, "Ooh, hang tight."
Maybe not so much
Episode
for the
7's
last
a real
episode.
stunner.
But anyways.
I heard the ending sucked. I did hear that.
Okay.
Anyway, Gamju Lu, which is Goldfish Man. Oh shoot! Oh, I did it now. I didn't mean to do this one. I didn't mean to do this one.
Oh.
But I already brought it up, so I'll do it. It's Goldfish Man. It's kind of gross.
Goldfish Man.
I didn't mean to do this. I don't even want to do it. Let's just leave this one up. Let's not even do it. Give me another one.
Okay. This
put
is the first in untranslatable history, but that's fine. We can move on. I got
I don't wanna
another
do
one
it.
for you. Okay.
I don't want to do it.
That's fine. I got another one for you. Also
I'll
Swedish.
explain after.
Okay. Sounds good because you piqued my
Oh,
curiosity.
if you listen to the end of the episode, you'll figure out what the untranslatable is after the
Ooh.
credits.
There we go. All right.
And then you'll understand why I didn't want to do it.
There you go. All right. My last one for you today, Jared, is also Swedish. And it is Lägga benen på ryggen, which means put your legs on your back.
Okay. Lega is leg, or benen is probably leg, I bet.
I
'Cause
think,
that's
yeah,
like
I think
bein.
benen and ryggen is probably like rücken, which would be back.
Right. Because I was going to say, oh, leg, that's leg. But then I was like, oh, wait, no, but
Right.
it doesn't work like that. And I think about it. I know the cognate.
Right.
Put your leg on your back.
Put your legs on your back. Yep.
Legs. Is that like to do the impossible, or like to really like to exemplify
No.
greatness or
No.
something, or to it's not like putting the team on my back dough.
No.
I put the team on my back
No.
dough. Okay.
No. And it's not you put it down for your city either.
Okay. That was my second guess.
I figured. No, so this one, like for example, Jared, if you were to watch a scary movie, right, and you're just watching it, right, you might like tell one of the characters, like there he comes, like put your legs on your back, put your legs on your back.
Oh, I could hear my soccer coach saying that.
Yeah,
He used to say, "Get on
Yeah.
your bicycle."
oh, I
And that
like
used to
that.
always stick with me.
That's hilarious.
But you could also say, "Put your legs on your back," which I obviously would mean run full speed.
Very
You
good.
know, as fast as you can.
You're
I
3
love
for
that.
3 today, man. Good work.
I mean, I needed some help with that one, to be fair. But that's a good one. I like that one. I could hear that being used in sport today.
Oh, definitely. Or if you
those
get a
legs on your-
bad
on your
test
back.
result and your helicopter parents aren't happy with it, and your older brother's like,
Ooh, by
put
the
your
way.
legs on your back.
Yeah. Have you ever like hidden a grade from your parents, or like
I've been
a bad
lucky.
result?
I have not. I have not. Thankfully, I've only
You haven't had to. You mean you've never had a bad grade?
I did get a C in college. That's the worst grade I've ever gotten.
All right, you're an asshole, dude. That's not a good grade, but that's certainly not what I meant by like a
Right.
bad. That's not
Bad
so
grade's like a
bad that
D
you
or
have
an
to
F.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting because you're like a only child, you know. Or, you're not an only. I know you're not
No,
an only child, but
technically,
you.
I grew up
I
as an
always have
only
to
child.
explain. Yeah, I always
don't
have
have
to
to
like
explain it. You're good.
clarify. You're not an only child, but you grew up as an only child. Your
Right.
siblings are significantly older than you.
Correct.
And you seem to have a very like self-propelled nature about yourself, like when I was I don't know, because when I was a kid, my parents, like when you were explaining at the top of the episode, you were only like kind of exaggerating. Like only kind of. That was pretty accurate to my upbringing, and I feel like you did not have that.
I'd agree. Yeah.
You just did your homework on your own. Your parents never had to ask you about, hey, did you do your homework? What is the level of it? Oh, you got this grade. It's not sufficient. No, because you got to see once.
Right.
You got to see once.
Yep. All A's and B's otherwise.
For your entire educational period. From
I might have gotten a C in chemistry in high school.
Okay, so you got one C one time.
Right.
Wow, Chad. Wow.
But
I just
what's ironic about all of that though, Jared, is that I initially took German thinking that, if I need help, I can come to my dad, right? The irony is I enjoyed German class so much, I never went to him for help ever because I never really needed it because I was such a nerd about it that it just wasn't necessary,
Yeah. I don't think I ever got a chance to figure out if I literally don't think I ever got a chance to even figure out if I was a nerd about something like you are, or to be like not self-sufficient, but like I feel like from jump it was like, let me check it. Let me make sure you did it right. You did this wrong. Do it again. Why did you get this grade? Like, and the hilarious thing is, I was, I'd never got bad grades, but like bad grades. But like, I certainly got more C's than you did, and I don't know. I just realized that I never even got to realize if I like had the ability to be self-sufficient like that because. Obviously in college I was my parents weren't still checking my homework in college, but like, or even like late in high school, they weren't even really either. But like, I'd say up until I left Germany, which was 10th grade, they were pretty on me, like white on rice from school wise, like, all through elementary school and stuff too. Over summer, let me ask you this. Since we're talking about expectation, we're talking about, at this point, school expectations, which I think something everyone can relate to.
Right.
Over summer, did you have to do any sort of school-related stuff or any sort of educational-related stuff?
I mean, as a kid, I always liked reading, and I liked it intrinsically.
Dude, I hate you. Okay, go ahead. This is just a...
So
Okay.
No. The answer to your question, though, Jared, is no. I mean, I did like, once again, this is not school related. I just did like day camps and stuff like that. So we played sports and stuff. So no. How about you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
First of all, I did do day camps for sure. But yeah. My parents, well, first of all, I was allowed like 30 minutes to an hour of TV a day over summer.
Okay.
On weekends, I could watch the Saturday morning cartoons, not to brag. But my parents would buy like workbooks. I had to do math stuff. When I was real young, like this started when I was real young, they made me like some of my favorite like picture books, they made me like rewrite them. Like I'd have to write them out. Yeah, and then when they got home from work, they check it.
Damn.
I'd have like math, like math workbooks essentially that they'd buy, and I had to do like assignments and shit over summer. Up until and that was mostly elementary school, probably, and maybe a little bit of middle school
PTSD
too.
just listening to you talk about this, Jared. I didn't even live it.
It was rough, dude. I mean, it wasn't rough. It wasn't rough, but I hated it.
Sure.
That's more what I mean. But yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like I never, maybe now that I'm saying this and now that I realize, now I'm really thinking about it, maybe I never really got to realize what it is I'm interested in or really passionate about like you did,
Mm-hmm.
Because like school was like militarized at a young age almost. That's
Right.
an aggressive term, but
But I mean, I don't know if that's that extreme. And I think for a lot of kids out there, that's the case.
it wasn't all summer, to be fair.
Right.
I did visit my family in Colorado, my family in Texas.
Texas
my family
beat
in
down on your
Louisiana.
cousin on basketball.
Yeah, I did
Start
beat down my
fights.
cousin for a bit, but there was like a solid month of summer that was schoolwork for sure.
Right. Well, Jared, I have to tell you too, I was one of those weird kids where like towards mid to end of summer, I'm like, all right, let's get back to school. Like I was one of those weird
you're
kids.
a weird kid. Oh,
Yep.
No. That's why I'm fighting grad school to this day, because I'm still not that kid. What?
Yeah.
Okay,
Weird.
so
I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, Jared. But you know,
I mean, I knew you like enjoyed the idea of education as an adult, but I didn't realize that you were like, I'm ready for like school couldn't come any sooner.
right. Well, you know what the other thing is I think the reason why my parents, I don't think at least they never like voiced any like super high expectations is I was always really hard on myself. Like my parents would see how I would react if I scored poorly on like a test or an exam or a class or whatever. And so I don't know. I think
Why was that? Why were you so hard on yourself?
I don't know, man. I wish I had an answer for you.
Were you afraid of failing? Did you just knew you could do better?
I think it was some of that, or wanting or striving to do better. Some of it too, it's kind of ironic, is I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Yet my mom, I remember growing up, my mom telling me numerous times when I would beat myself up about like scoring an 88 instead of like a 90 on a quiz, right? And my mom would straight up be like, was it the best you could do? And I was like, yeah, I studied my ass off and I gave it my best.
Dude.
Yeah.
Can we switch? You're
It's a little
my
late
parents
now.
my parents almost everything I did unless it was like, like a 95 plus or not a 90, like a 90 plus or something, they're like, you could have done better.
Right.
Like you definitely could have done better.
Yeah.
You would currently be like the youngest CEO of some Fortune 500 company.
That or
I
I'd
feel
be
like
like a
under my
raging
parents'
alcoholic.
tutelage.
Or
That too. That could
I
happen.
feel like it could
That
go
could
one or
happen.
the other, right? Like hyper successful or hyper failure, one or the other, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so maybe
crazy how much, though, Jared, that parents' expectations and also encouragement or lack thereof can shape a child. Like let me tell you a story. This isn't Chad's story time, unfortunately, but I had a good friend of
No,
mine
I know.
all throughout.
This is a real story.
Right. All throughout school. We met in 3rd or 4th grade. He was by far one of the most athletic and academically gifted friends that I had. Like he wouldn't study for a test and he would get an A on the test, right? But the thing was is that his parents, especially his mom, never really encouraged him or praised him. And then around high school, it was crazy because I could have ended up doing the same shit he was doing. We just kind of started hanging out with a different group of friends. And I truly believe, had he have had
The same shit he was doing? You mean like he fell into a bad crowd is what you
he
mean?
did. Yep.
I see.
And I truly believe, had he have just gotten more support and encouragement, and it seemed like his parents or his mom really had no expectations for him, thinking that he would just be a failure. And then I feel like it's just kind of from that point, it's almost like it's like, well, my parents think I'm going to be a failure. I think that also works two ways. Either it's like, I'm going to prove them wrong, or it's like, well, if that's what you think I am, then I'll show you that's what I am, you know?
Yeah. You know what's interesting? You were talking about irony before. I feel like that that is why I feel like now I feel such a strong need to be self-sufficient, I'm so bad at asking for help. Because I feel like it's like you're trained for this,
Right.
Like you have no excuse to be like not understanding how to do this or asking for help. It's like you have literally been trained for this moment, like some sort of little robot trained. I don't know what I'm saying.
Or ninja.
But I feel like Batman.
Right.
No, like Bane.
There you go. Right.
Like it's so like now it's like now I'm in a place where it's like, okay, you've been trained for this like an athlete as a kid, so now you can't be asking for help because like but then I don't know but then I see you and you're so good at asking for help and you are so nurturing.
Not always.
You ask me for advice all the time.
Advice
so you're
is
good at
different
asking me
than
for
help.
advice. I see.
I would say.
Let's say advice because I don't feel like I don't need help. That's
Right.
the thing.
I ask for advice.
I don't know.
You are right. I do ask for advice a lot, but it's because I really value the people who I ask. I value their opinions. That's why I ask. And you usually bring a different perspective or different thought process than I would. So that's why I really like asking you because, you just approach things differently than I do. Some of that might be due to the way our parents raised us with more or less expectations. I do want to talk about, though, today, Jared, why do you think...
are you doing your best versus you could do better parenting technique? Yeah. This is my next book that is forming right now.
There we go.
I'm not even a parent.
You better start writing some notes, Jared, because these would be some solid book ideas. I would for sure buy the Jared rules for school or the Jared School for Life book. I would read that.
I mean, that's a good one. I mean, that rule in itself is something that could be like on the cover. Are you asking your children, are they doing their best? Or I don't even remember anymore. It's in the recording.
Or are you asking them, could you do better?
To do better.
Right.
Yeah.
But let me ask you though, Jared,
a little bit.
Why do parents have these high expectations for their kids? What are your thoughts?
Well, because their kid is a representation of them.
Okay.
They don't want their kids to embarrass them, or I guess that's the pessimistic. I don't know why I started that way. It could also just say a parent wants to see their child succeed,
right,
and be happy in life. Or you could say you don't want them to embarrass you. I don't know why I went there first,
right?
But yeah, but to be fair, I went there. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, yes, I did. I went there. That is probably a bigger motivation than, like in the grand global scheme. I would bet you not wanting my kids to embarrass me is, even if parents won't admit it, is a bigger motivation than wanting my kids to succeed.
Could be.
And like if you were to do like a survey of like why do you want your kid to succeed, and there were like a large list of options. It's like, this is anonymous. Those two might be at the top, but I bet you it would be closer than one might think.
Yeah. I don't think this one is as common, but I think you do see it, especially in sports, in children's sports, where parents want the exactly. Yep. Yeah, where the parents want to live vicariously through their children. And I have to say, that's what I've seen my sister and her wife do a great job with my nephews. Is they're both really, really good athletes. I'm not just saying that because I'm their uncle. I've seen them play their games. Both of them are pretty solid. But either of my nephews, if they want to stop, now granted, if they, sign up for a team, they're going to make them play out the season, which I think is fair. But if they don't want to continue, it's not like they're pushing them to do this. And I think it's a dangerous game when you try to play or live vicariously through your children.
You know what my parents did?
What?
They used soccer as a punishment, so they wouldn't let me go to practice, or they'd make me skip a game if there was some sort of subpar grade. That was painful. That hurt. That really hurt.
Bet.
Whew, that was rough.
I mean, in high school
it didn't happen
sports,
often, to be fair, but I remember those times when it did clearly, because that's the thing. The parent finds what you really like, and then they take it away from you, and that's how
for sure.
That's some sort of like gulag technique. Oh my God. Jeez.
Yep, figure out your simple pleasure PTSD, and let's take it away.
Stress right now. Oh my God.
But I think one other kind of obvious but also sometimes overlooked reason why parents have such high expectations for their kids is, I think a lot of times it's just out of love, Jared. I know that sounds super hippy-dippy, but I would say, and the reason why a lot of parents also, I remember we went to school with a girl from China, and she really wanted to study journalism, and she was studying, I'm pretty sure, finance or business or whatever. And she had said, she was like, my parents are not going to support me financially, spiritually, emotionally, or otherwise if I don't get my degree in, economics. And it was a shame because she wanted to be a writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no money in that.
Well, see, right. Well, that is why my mom told me, do not study music. And what did dumbass Chad do in college? Study music. If I could go back and do it again, would I? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another big expectation. I mean, do you consider yourself like a highly money motivated person? I feel like that's a big expectation, especially when it comes to just like the job expectation
Right.
in general. We talked about school, and I think, and you just brought up this girl, had to study economics for whatever job they want. I'm sure that was followed up because they wanted her to do some sort of specific, I don't know, finance or whatever gig. Like it's not like she couldn't then be like, I want to go into marketing and be on the creative side and and make commercials on production sets. It's like no. You're going to be an accountant,
Right.
So I think there's a lot of job expectations. Definitely a lot of like. I've heard this a couple times where it's like, my parents did this, so I got to do this too. And I find that to be the most ridiculous thing. I didn't get that
Right.
sort of pressure at all.
Right.
My parents were just like, we would like you to do something that would hopefully result in a job at the end of it. But but I never got like. got like pushed in college to like do, but I think at that point the training was nearly complete anyway. So in my head, like I think it was already in that it's like, I mean, I have no artistic abilities anyway, so there's nothing pushing me towards that anyway. And I think that was probably where it's like, you're probably not going to be a professional soccer player. So then I guess that's where just practicality comes more into it for
Let
me.
me ask you a question though, Jared. How do you know that you have no artistic ability when you've never really spent any time trying to do anything artistic?
I mean, I've taken art classes, a bunch of art classes through my years. I took a variety of art classes, from like painting things to like that workshop class I told you about that
Right.
we had in where we worked with plastics. That was kind of an arty
Those
class. You had to, like,
coasters you have
cut
at
out
home are pretty
designs.
cool. Just saying.
They're all okay. See, this is the problem with. You see, I'm a pained artist. I look at my art and I find it to all be repulsive, Chad. Dude, this makes me want to actually go find some. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to look. Some of my old art stuff. I might be a freaking artistic genius.
You might
and it
be.
was just squandered as a child.
You might be.
I feel like I don't have any artistic abilities, really. Musically, I know I don't. I've played instruments throughout my life, and I've never really like put my heart into it at any point.
Right.
So yeah, I'm pretty confident in
Okay.
when I say that.
Fair
I'm
enough.
nearly 30. I think I can be pretty confident in my abilities at this point.
That's fair. Yeah, I was just kind of curious. Side tangent and side conversation, but I was just
So
curious.
you had some family expectations wise. You had some like. You didn't have your parents. The only expectation was to like find something that I actually could, result in a job after.
Well, here's the funny thing, Jared.
Because music obviously doesn't, and you said your mom wasn't thrilled about that, which
Right.
makes sense. So I was like, what would be the expectation?
Right.
then?
So it's funny you mentioned that, because all growing up, the expectation was you're going to college. And I hate to say
Sure.
this, but I don't know if myself or my parents thought too much deeper than that. I'm just keeping
with
it
me.
real with you.
It was just same. It was just a given.
Yep.
Like there was never like a conversation about like, oh, do you want to go to college? It was like, all right, start looking,
Right.
because you're going.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure.
The thing is it's kind of funny, because I think a lot of parents, they push college on their kids because, yes, for the most part, not all degrees, but a lot of degrees, you'll simply earn more than someone without a college degree in whatever field you're working in. However, I also wonder sometimes, Jared, like my grandfather was a carpenter, and like I wonder if that would have been an avenue that I could have pursued if I'd be happy doing something with carpentry or woodworking or,
Yeah, but I think that's something that you would somehow that you would call me lumberjack, because I wish a Negro would. That's a Tyler the Creator song. Lumberjack. Anyway, that's something that you would. I think if you were like had some like real interest toward it, you'd probably recognize that at a younger age. Like I don't
Maybe.
think are most lumberjacks like I don't know. I feel like lumberjacking as a job, if it's either something that it's like like you realize that you're really into it at a young age, or it's like I need a job kind of like those are the two
Right.
options.
Well, I mean more so
like I feel like
with like woodworking, like being a carpenter,
gotcha.
not a lumberjack. But my point
I
is
gotcha.
that
I said lumberjack. That's the title of the creator song.
right. My point is though, Jared, is that because college was so. It was college this, college that, college. College was kind of you have to go the bare minimum. It's like, well, there's a lot of careers out there where you can make a decent living, but you don't need a college degree. The
Sure.
thing about that though is like a lot of those jobs are a lot more physically demanding on your body.
That's for sure. Do you have any sort of interest in the idea of carpentry now? Because there's nothing stopping you. I mean, besides for the fact that you've already loaded up your parents' driveway with cars, is there anything stopping you from getting into carpentry?
I guess not. Well, time
Like,
or
Is there
like,
anything that even draws you towards it? Do you see structures, or you're like, ooh, wow, that's beautiful?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Jared. Building guitars is one thing that I've always been
Is
super
that carpentry?
interested in.
Is that?
Well, it's
would you call that
woodworking. It's woodworking.
I gotcha. Yeah,
But yeah,
you could try that though. Like that's
yeah.
something there's nothing stopping you from trying that now.
Well, time and money, Jared. That's what's stopping me.
I can't imagine that's expensive to buy a hunk of wood. Oh, I guess you need
It's all the tools. It's all and you need very Trust me, I've looked into it, buddy. Trust me. I went through a period where I thought, am I just gonna take a loan for 20 G's and go to a like place where I can learn how to become a luthier? I kid you not, dude. There was a point in time where I was unemployed.
A guitar maker is a luthier?
Yes. Well, that's an instrument maker.
Okay.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that term before.
Yep. Learning all sorts of new things today, Jared.
I love that.
But,
luthier.
Yeah, it's a good word. But anyways, back to
that one in.
parental expectations, Jared.
It's a fancy word.
I will agree with you that the embarrassment, I think, is a key. The other thing, too, and I noticed this a lot in China with my colleagues, is they would always tell me, and these were people that I knew not very well. They would always tell me, oh, yeah, my son scored this and this or placed first in this competition.
Bragging rights.
Yep.
Bragging rights. Yes, that's a great one. That's a perfect one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You heard we heard it a lot with college time, a lot of those bragging rights. My son's going to this school or blah blah blah's daughter's going to this school. You always hear that during college time, and you start comparing the schools you're applying to, like, oh god.
Right.
Well, not you. You can get into whatever you want, apparently. I don't realize who I was talking
my GPA,
to here.
I mean, my GPA was okay, but it wasn't, like I said, I got B's.
3.9, 3.7?
No, it was a 3.7, I think.
Oh, that's bad, Chad?
I mean, try to get into U of M or Harvard or Stanford with that. Good luck.
Did you have, well, I think my sister did, to be fair. She got into UPenn like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She had a lot of extracurriculars. That doesn't matter. Anyway. Okay. Some other expectations, by the way. You did say sports. That's a great one. You see it a lot just on the sidelines. I had a friend, his dad got banned from our soccer games because he would yell at refs and stuff like that.
He just got way too into it?
Yeah. And it's like, bro, your son's not even that good. And then, like, he's not bad, but he's clearly not, like, it's not this serious.
Hey,
and
ref!
then you see his van.
Ref, you missed that call.
I wish it was just that. There were parents covering up kids' ears. Then
jeez.
No, there weren't actually parents covering.
Earmuffs.
There weren't kids. No ears were being covered, but they should have been. He was saying some words.
Right.
And to the ref, it's like, all right, you can't be arguing with the other team's coach also. And then you see his van across the street. Watching the games
with the binoculars or some shit. Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, oh my god. Anyway, so there's a lot of the sport expectations. Those are just foolish too, because it's like there's such a small likelihood that that's going to pay off, And
sorry, go ahead.
If a kid isn't enjoying the sport, let him do it, But the idea of pushing them harder than they want to go, or like sort of like trying to like form. You could even say the same thing with like instruments or something like that. Any sort of skill like that, where it's like trying to form them into like the professional athlete that you hoped you were going to be one day.
Right. Oh, for sure.
And you know your kid's stats off the like by heart. You know, it's like you're taking it too seriously. And I mean, I guess if the kid's into it at that level too, then it's great. But I've seen plenty of instances where it's like, yeah, no, my dad takes this way more seriously than I do.
Right.
I like it, but that's about it.
I would even expand that, Jared, to just anything competition based, right? So like you said, like even instruments, like if there's competitions or like a war, basically if there is some type of oh man. Yeah, talk about unrealistic and crazy expectations, bro. Those beauty pageants are something else.
Yeah, with like those 12-year-olds getting all prepared and stuff. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've never actually seen it. This is all just based off of what I've heard about the TV show.
That to me, though, is like the epitome of trying to live vicariously through your child.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's the same thing as the sport thing. It's just in a different field.
For sure. Yeah. I have to say, though, too, Jared, I think a lot of times these parental expectations can become such a burden on kids, especially when, you know, now granted, I don't have any kids, so I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite saying this, or very unqualified at the least saying this, but like your kids are their own human beings. They're not here.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Dr. Chad. Thank you, Dr. Chad. Okay, fine, go ahead. I was just like, what are you about to give us a psychology lesson?
That's right.
I have a question for you. I'm sure which I want to say I hate to cut you off, but I don't. What age do you think you started making your own decisions?
Pretty young.
I could tell. That makes sense.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm saying it seems like you were very independent in grade school. That's what I mean.
For me, according to my parents, when I was like 3 or 4, I started to be like, no, I'm picking out my outfits.
Okay, I see what you're saying. That is that's a great example too. But I mean more like curfew's not really a thing anymore, or like.
That's a good question.
You know, like you gain independence from your parents is more what I say.
Well, you know,
past just being able to pick out your clothes. Let's say.
I was right. I would say
lucky. Essentially college for me.
Okay, I would say probably high school for me. I will say though, I was lucky that at least for my dad, I was his 3rd child, and I think usually by the youngest, the parents are pretty lax and like, oh, they'll be fine, you know. Whereas like when it's your first kid, you know,
I was the 2nd. And so I always heard had big smiles on my face whenever I listened to my sister complain about how easy I got it compared to her. But you have the added component of, because your siblings are much older, your dad was kind of like almost grandparent level when you were growing up,
dude,
to where it's even a higher level of, it's fine, just let them do whatever they want.
Well, dude, there were so many times when my dad would take me to like t-ball games or soccer games. And you know, people would be like, your grandson is so cute.
I'm sure he loved that.
Oh, well, I don't know if it bothered him, but it pissed me off.
Oh, you didn't like it?
Apparently, I would go off on these people and be like, he's my dad, he's not my grandpa. But yeah,
I can imagine that would be annoying for a kid to hear. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say that and I'd say this is sort of the typical time for most people. Is that at least in the U.S. I would say that 18 is like the official, like, all right, this we can't really tell this person what to do anymore. We can't really give this person a curfew, you know, and they're kind of on their own at that point, unless I guess there are people that choose to like still like, you know, suckle off of their parents' teat in some sort of way. Then I guess in that form, then you'd have to conform to whatever rules if you want to keep that stream of milk coming.
Speaking of college, Jared.
So you
You know what I think was a key to see who had those overbearing parents, were the college kids who just went batshit crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I felt, dude, when I started in college for like a real hot sec, because I gave in just as much as everyone else did. I'm not making it seem like I was better, but like I did feel like, especially in high school for one, but in college a little bit, that like it really is good that I lived in Europe for 4 years, and I was never even legal to drink. I left right before my 16th birthday, but even still, just that I had like that sort of style of alcohol culture around me, I feel like was a real plus. Because my parents really there was a huge destigmatization of alcohol at that time.
Right.
But but you could even really see it in high school. I mean, you could see it in college too with new people, but you could see it in high school too, because it was still kind of the same kids that would especially, I went to a Catholic school, so there were all sorts of there was all sorts of hypocrisy going on regarding how good someone was versus the actions that I saw.
Right.
Or that I heard about.
It's always, I feel like it's always the preacher's daughter that's always like the biggest hellraiser. And then it's
I've seen the shows.
And then it's like the or the guy whose dad's like the police chief or whatever, and he's like doing like lines of cocaine like right before his lecture or something.
I mean, it was kind of like that at my school. It's like, oh yeah, no. The guy that is like the super Catholic kid is also the one that's now in rehab for a couple of weeks.
Right.
But I think that's don't even get me started on religion. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, I think that does play a role though, Jared, in those unhealthy expectations,
Yeah.
Big one.
For sure. Here, a big one that going along with that 18, I think that 18 in the U.S., and this is popular especially in like sitcoms and television, that 18 signifies like the kids are leaving the household.
Right.
There were so many sitcoms I watched back in the day where the dad that seemingly hates his family would like get like excited for that day, or like if the kid was acting up, they'd like use that as like, oh, on that day I'll be free. And I think there is sort of just this basic expectation that after 18 you either like go to college or like you get a job, and that's when independence starts,
Right. Which is a very American mindset, may I add.
That's true. Because we've talked about it in a lot of Asian countries. Usually they, it's more like a transition. It's like of who's taking care of who, rather than like it's 18, so now we leave.
Right. Well, I think it's a bold assumption to think that at 18 you're really an adult, because when I look back at myself at 18, Jared, I'm 30 and I still don't have a clue. So
yeah.
That was 12 years ago.
But being an adult is that the requirement to live by yourself, is to be an adult? Because I don't know. I lived by myself for the first time for over summer in college, for when I had an internship in Colorado, and I like paid my own rent and stuff off. It was the first time I like paid my own rent off of how much money I made and had to like pay utilities, and must have been like 19, 20.
Okay.
And I certainly wasn't an adult, but it's like but that doesn't mean I couldn't do it, like it's certainly doable, Yeah. So it's like when does one become an adult, Chad? Are you an adult now? Once you move out of your parents' place, so you're 30 but you're not an adult yet?
Clearly not. Depending on some people's parameters, I'm not. But I don't know, man.
Whose parameters? Whose?
I think a lot of Americans.
Sorry. I didn't know you just.
I don't have a specific person in mind. No. That Jared guy. I mean, he hurt him. But I don't know, man. I mean, and I think even when you become an adult, it's normal to still need help and guidance from your parents. Like, I was talking to one of my cousins who's in his mid 40s, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I still come to my parents and ask them for help all the time, whether it be advice." Stuff on like more like adult type stuff, like housing and businesses and stuff like that.
So it goes in there. Oh, yeah. But they ask for advice, but they don't ask for. Do they ask for stuff? Stuff and advice are two different things. You should be asking for advice for your whole life,
right?
But asking for advice and stuff are different things.
Right.
Do parents probably have expectations to stay in communications with their kid if they like their kid.
Right.
But do they have that same expectation for their kid at 40 to be... I'm sure my parents want me to be asking for them advice as much now as when I'm 40. But I don't think they want me asking them for stuff. I'm sure they'd be a lot more annoyed if I asked them for stuff at 22 versus 40.
Well, sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think that they're
expectations
really
change,
stuff.
Chad.
Right.
The expectations change.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, and I do think to some degree those expectations kind of come full circle because it's like, have you raised someone well enough to be a functioning adult, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I couldn't give you a clear-cut answer, though, Jared, on when you become an adult. Is it 18? Is it 21? Is it 25? I don't know.
Here's another big expectation that we got to get to before we... I don't know if you have any more, but I have one that we can't move on here without talking about.
Let's
We're
hear
talking about the parents. We're talking about expectations. Kids, dude. Getting married and kids.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, getting married and having kids. And I hate to say this, man, because I don't truly know because I've never lived as a woman before, but I feel like that pressure... I have a lot of female friends who I feel like they get way more pressured than we do, our guy friends.
For sure, yeah, there's a double standard there as far as those expectations for, and that goes back to just the old days of patriarchy, because there was a long time in history, I guess most of history, where the idea of like a woman going to the office or working was like, what are you, insane?
Right.
So there are still vestiges that, just because it's not crazy for a woman to be in an office anymore, that there's still, remains of that mindset for sure.
Right. I will say this, though, Jared, and I'm not saying it's right that anybody is pressured by their family members to have kids or get married or start a family when they're not ready. But there are also the biological limitations, unless you're planning on either freezing your eggs or adopting, men and women have a different time frame when it comes to having kids. So that might be why I, for example, didn't hear from my, grandmother or great aunt saying, hey, when are you going to have babies? Whereas like with both my older sisters, I'm sure they had to have heard it at some point.
And you can't hear it. And what, your dad's going to say that to you? Seems a little hypocritical.
Right. Right.
So it's like, so yeah, no, that makes sense. I never really got that. I've never really gotten that either. When my sister got married a couple years ago, not even my parents, but just random family members would be like, "You're next. When's it happening?" And I'd be like, "Listen, you don't hold your breath. We're here to celebrate this one. Why are we already moving on? Okay,
exactly. Live in the moment, people. Come on."
But kids is definitely a big one. A big part of the kids thing that I was thinking of too, actually where I first this came to my mind, is the naming aspect of kids.
Right.
What I find it, the juniors, the named after the expectation.
Thirds.
Yeah, I find that to be interesting.
Yeah.
Could you picture a Chad Jr.?
Nope.
Chad doesn't lend itself to Junior.
There's not going to be a Chad Jr.
I don't think there's a Chad. I don't think there's a Chad Jr. in the history of the world.
Probably not. Now I'm going to Google it, Jared, because you got me really curious.
I'm sure, of course there is. But Chad does not really lend itself to Junior.
No.
Oh, Chad Johnson Jr., some Arizona State.
Oh, well, yeah, he's the son of Chad Johnson's, yeah.
Ocho Cinco? Is that Ocho Cinco?
Yeah, that's Ocho Cinco. So that does not surprise me one bit.
I mean, Ocho Cinco's kind of famous. Right. I'm not even a football fan, and I know who Ocho Cinco is.
Right.
Okay.
That's like looks like that's the only one.
But he's
though.
Younger than you. He's younger than you.
Right.
So you're the old. So there's Chad. Chad is not. No offense, Chad. And I have this struggle with my name too. It's not a powerful historical name. I don't like that about my name personally, and Chad I think struggles from that too. It's not a powerful name.
Well, I don't think it has that. I know what you mean. I think it's a very unique name. I think both of our names are actually fairly unique. But
really? Wow.
But they're not. You're right. They aren't. They don't have the same gravitas as some of these other. But you're the naming is kind of weird. I think, but
are you named after anyone in your family?
It's a religious thing.
Any part
Jared.
of your names?
Nope.
Your middle name? No. Oh, just purely original. That's nice.
All random.
My middle name's after my uncle that passed away.
You have an awesome
and
middle name, by the way. But yeah,
that was a name I didn't appreciate as a kid. But that's a strong name. That would be a good first name. I might need to do a switcheroo.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Johann Jared Miner is now what I go by.
I do know, though, there are a lot of, like, one of my best friends in high school was Catholic. And, like, he was named after his father. There were a lot of, like, friends that I met through him that were Chilean that also were a junior. So, I think religion might play a role.
At least via soccer. I do know it's super popular in Argentina and Brazil. Specifically Brazil. I can think of like a number of them.
Right.
Neymar Jr., Vinicius. How do you say that guy's name? Vinicius?
I have no idea.
He's a junior. But yeah, I can think of a few juniors on the Brazilian team. Yeah, maybe it is a religious thing. I don't know. But yeah, because it's hard to say because I don't know. Is Neymar? I don't know what Neymar's what his real name is. Because I wonder if his real name is like super religious. Jesus Christ, Neymar. Oh, that is his first name. That's his first name, Neymar. I did not know that. I thought that was his last name or something. Neymar da Silva Santos Junior.
That's a strong name.
Junior.
Right there.
Junior, I should say, because the accent's over the U.
Right.
Junior.
But yeah,
okay. I didn't know Neymar was his first name.
I wonder though too, in terms of the namings, Jared, if it's like the idea of kind of following in your parents' footsteps as well. You know what I mean? Like I think historically that was probably more of a common trope than it is now. Like I don't know. I don't think you hear as much about like, a family-run business run, generation to generation by the same family. I feel like that's becoming more rare as we go on.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, thanks to places like Amazon.
Right.
Running everybody out of business.
Exactly. Any other expectations you can think of, Jared?
No. You have thoroughly exceeded my expectations for this podcast, though, Chad.
Well, there we go, Jared. There we go. On that note, we're going to end it because that's a good place to end it, I would say. So let us know, though, if you had some overbearing or underbearing, I guess, parents with high or low expectations and how that affected you at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into those DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number one, and check us out on YouTube and Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. All right, Jared. Goldfish, man.
You remembered.
Dying to hear it.
Oh, my gosh. You remember the literal.
What is it? Is it related to a golden shower?
No, you're right. No. It's not golden shower. But I was actually convinced that I'd have to be like, hey, don't stop recording. But you remembered the untranslatable and everything. All right. Well, you're ready for it. The untranslatable was Gamju Lu. And the reason why I didn't... Well, what do you think it is? It's not a golden shower.
Okay, goldfish, man.
The reason why I wanted to do that first is because I like ones that have stories.
Right.
I've
got no idea. What is it?